AITA for taking the Singapore job offer after my girlfriend said we weren't meant to be? I am 31 years old and had been with Zara, who is 29, for 3 years. We had been living together for 1. Everything was stable until her ex, Logan, moved back to town 6 months ago. Suddenly, she started going to a poetry club every Saturday. Except this so-called poetry club was just her and Logan alone at his apartment, supposedly reconnecting as friends. When I told her it made me feel uncomfortable, she snapped at me. She said he was just a friend and that they had only dated for about 2 months 5 years ago. She told me I was being paranoid. I tried to be the understanding boyfriend. Then, the poetry club turned into coffee on Saturdays and Sundays. Later, Friday nights were added because Logan was supposedly struggling with his mother's illness. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago. I had received a massive proposal to lead the company's office in Singapore with a salary of $140,000. It included a paid relocation package and a 2-bedroom corporate apartment for a year. It was my dream job. But I turned it down twice because Zara could not stand the idea of moving away from her family. That Saturday, she was getting ready for her poetry club. Her hair was done, she had a new skirt on, and she was wearing a perfume she never used when she went out with me. I asked, "Are you sure you don't want to skip today? We could go to that new restaurant downtown." She sighed and said, "Caleb, we already talked about this. Logan is just a friend. If you don't trust me spending weekends with my ex, maybe we aren't meant for each other." I looked at her for a few seconds and said, "You are absolutely right." Her face went through a dozen different emotions. She stammered, "Caleb, I didn't mean that." I told her, "No, you're right, this isn't working." I went to the bedroom, opened my email, and wrote to my boss. I told him I accepted the position in Singapore and could start in 2 weeks. Zara came in behind me asking what I was doing. I told her I was finally accepting the job offer. She said it was just a moment of frustration and that I could not make a major decision like that so quickly. I told her that maybe she should sleep at her parents' house that night or at Logan's. It was her choice. She asked if I was really ending our relationship over this. I told her she had just said we should not be together, and I was simply agreeing. She started to cry, but it was a cry of rage rather than sadness. She called me absurd and insisted it was just a friendship. I told her to go ahead and be friends, but I was going to be in Singapore. She grabbed her bag and stormed out, slamming the door and shouting that I would regret it. 20 minutes later, my phone vibrated. She texted, "Love, let's talk. You can't throw away 3 years like this. I'll stop seeing Logan if it bothers you. Caleb, this is childish." I did not respond. I started packing my bags. The last week was eye-opening. After the breakup, Zara went straight to Logan's house. I know because she posted a social media story from his sofa holding a coffee mug with the caption, "When life throws curves," at 2 in the morning. Her friend Tessa messaged me asking if we really broke up. I told her to ask Zara since it was her idea. Tessa mentioned that Zara told everyone I would never actually leave because I was too attached to my sister. My sister lives in California, and I only see her once a year. Meanwhile, I was busy. I gave notice at work, arranged to ship my things to Singapore, and transferred my lease to someone else. The company handled everything: the move, tickets, and temporary housing. Zara tried to come to the apartment while I was packing, but I had already changed the locks. The lease was only in my name. She shouted, "Caleb, I know you're in there. We need to talk." I replied via text telling her that her things were in boxes at the door and to pick them up. She said she would not pick up anything because she was not leaving and called me crazy. I reminded her that the rent was in my name and she never officially moved in. She always kept her parents' address for her mail to avoid city residency taxes. This time, her trick backfired. She eventually left, but not before telling our friends I was having a crisis and leaving everything for a job. Then the truth about Logan came out. My friend Jordan works at the same gym as Logan. He overheard him on the phone saying, "She's practically single now. Her boyfriend is losing it." "No, babe, I told you. Zara and I are just friends." "Yes, I'm coming to your cousin's party." I discovered Logan had a girlfriend, Sienna, who lives 2 hours away and only visits every 2 weeks, specifically when Zara had family commitments. Jordan sent me screenshots from Logan's gym group chat from 2 months ago where Logan wrote, "Man, the girl I'm seeing is crazy. Her boyfriend thinks we have a poetry club." I forwarded the screenshots to Zara with one word: interesting. She called me 15 times. I was busy finalizing my travel arrangements. My flight was on a Saturday afternoon, the same Saturday that had been Poetry Club Day for 3 months straight. That morning, Zara showed up with her mother, Diane, and her brother, Evan, for an intervention. Diane started by saying, "Caleb, dear, Zara told us about your emotional crisis." I asked, "What crisis?" She said, "Leaving everything to go to the other side of the world." I told her that was not a crisis. It was a 70% raise and a director position. Evan chimed in saying I could not just abandon her. I told him she broke up with me and I was just respecting her decision. Zara screamed that she did not mean it literally. I told her not to make ultimatums she could not keep. Diane tried another angle, asking about the apartment since Zara lived there. I explained she only stayed there. Her mail went to their house, and she was not on any bills. Legally, she was just a guest. Evan asked if I was leaving her over a friendship. I showed them the screenshots from Logan's gym group. Total silence followed. Diane turned pale. Zara turned bright red and claimed it was out of context. I asked what context makes her boyfriend thinks we have a poetry club sound normal. They left after Zara called me a manipulator for spying on Logan. I did not spy. Jordan sent me the screenshots because he thought I had a right to know. At 1 o'clock, I posted a photo on social media with the caption, "New chapter starts now. Heading to Singapore." The comments exploded. People were shocked, asking when this happened and noting that Zara was crying in her stories. At 3:30, as I was boarding the plane, Zara messaged me, "How is your weekend going? Can we talk?" I replied with a selfie in the departure lounge with the flight to Singapore in the background. She said, "This isn't funny, Caleb." I told her I was not trying to be funny and that I was boarding in 10 minutes. She asked if I was really leaving and if I had thought about staying. I asked if she thought I would stay after she chose her ex. She claimed she did not choose him. I told her 3 months of weekends said otherwise. She said she was going to the airport, but I told her I had already passed security. I said goodbye, turned off my phone, and enjoyed the flight. Singapore is surreal. The company apartment is beautiful with glass walls and a city view. It is steps away from the office. My new team is top-notch, and I am enjoying work again. But the drama did not stop. Zara went wild on social media, claiming I abandoned her out of nowhere, refused to fix the relationship, and traded love for money. The comments were ruthless. People pointed out she was at Logan's house every weekend. Then came the bombshell. Sienna, Logan's girlfriend, messaged me. She said she saw the posts about me moving to Singapore and that Logan had told her Zara was just obsessed with him. She asked if that was true. I sent her everything. The poetry club lies, the gym screenshots, and the timeline. She was devastated but thanked me. She later sent me Logan's messages to her. He had told Sienna that Zara was just needy because her boyfriend worked all the time and she needed a friend. He said she was decent looking but nothing compared to Sienna, and he called me a nobody who probably only made $50,000 in tech while he made $75,000. Well, now I make $140,000. Sienna broke up with him publicly, posting the screenshots with descriptions of his dishonesty. Logan called me from 3 different numbers, telling me to control my former girlfriend because she was destroying him. I told him she was not my girlfriend and it was not my problem. He claimed they did not have an inappropriate relationship, but I told him I did not care. I was in Singapore and he could deal with his own mess. He blamed Zara for being too forward. Zara blamed him for manipulating her. They deserve each other. Zara played her most desperate card. She flew to Singapore and showed up at my office building. Security stopped her, thankfully. She stayed outside for 4 hours until I came out for lunch. She said we had to talk. I asked how she found me, and she said Tessa followed my coworker and saw the building in his posts. That is stalker level. I told her she should not be there. She said she flew 9,000 miles and I owed her a coffee. Against my better judgment, I agreed to a coffee in a public place. She was a mess. Messy hair, no makeup, wearing the same sweatshirt from her stories. She admitted she messed up. I asked which part, the ultimatum, the lies, the betrayal, or all of it. She said she thought she could have both of us and that I would always stay. I asked why she thought that. She said it was because I always stayed before, never confronted her, and never called her out. She thought I was weak. She cried and said she did not mean it. I told her she lied to me for months and spent time with him while I turned down my dream job for her. She claimed it was only twice. I told her that did not make it okay, and it meant we were nothing. She showed me her phone, saying she changed, blocked Logan, and started therapy. I told her that was good for her, but we were over. She could not believe I had moved on in a month. I told her I moved on the second she said we should not be together. Then she pulled her final card. I'm pregnant. I laughed. I told her she was not. She asked how I knew, and I told her we had not been together in 2 months because she always came back exhausted from her poetry club. Her face fell. She admitted she was not pregnant. She just wanted me to care. I told her I cared for 3 years, and she only noticed when I stopped. She went home that night, texting me that she would wait for me as long as it took. I blocked her. Zara's wait lasted 2 weeks. Now she is with a yoga instructor named Ryan, posting quotes about how the right person appears when you are healing and how sometimes your soulmate was in the studio all along. Tessa told me everything. She practically moved into his house in 3 weeks. The patterns repeat. Then, Logan contacted me on LinkedIn. He heard I was doing well in Singapore and said he received an offer there too. He suggested we grab a drink and clear the air. This guy thought we were going to be friends. I told him no thanks and to get over it. He said I was the problem and that Zara meant nothing to him. He took the job anyway. Guess what? His apartment is in the same building as mine, a company housing benefit. In the second week, I ran into him in the lobby with a girl who was not Sienna. She looked 20 at most. He said, Caleb, brother. This is Mila. Mila, this is my friend Caleb. I told him we were not friends. Mila looked confused, and Logan turned red, telling me not to do that since we were neighbors. I told him I was moving soon. I was not, but he did not need to know that. That night, Mila researched him, found posts tagged with Sienna by mistake, and broke up with him in the building's group chat. She wrote, Logan, you're the poetry club cheater. It's over. 200 residents saw it. Now security calls him the poetry club guy. Zara's fling with Ryan ended. What a surprise. I found out Ryan was also just friends with his ex, doing training sessions every weekend. Zara caught them in a very suspicious situation. She messaged me on a social media account I forgot to block, saying, now I understand how you felt. Forgive me. I left her on read. Karma really came from where no one expected. Remember Zara's trick of saying she lived with her parents to avoid taxes? Someone reported her. Maybe it was Sienna, who works in the tax department and does not play around with fraud. Zara owed 3 years of back taxes, plus fines and interest, totaling about $40,000. Her parents paid it, but they forced her to move back home for good. Logan is still in Singapore, but his reputation followed him. The poetry club story spread, and the expatriate circle here is small. He cannot even get a date at work events. He still says, bro, to me in the elevator. I ignore him. Tessa called me last week and said Zara is regretful, trying to change, and wants to know if I am dating anyone. Yes, I am with Chloe. She is Australian, works in design, and does not have an ex she sees every week. My 6-month evaluation came. Another raise and a permanent position. The company wants me long-term. I said yes immediately. Zara's last post was about growing through pain and how sometimes people leave so you can find yourself. Comments are disabled. To those who say I should have fought for the relationship, she said we should not be together if I could not stand her ex. I just took her seriously. To those who say I was too harsh, I rejected my dream job twice for someone who was betraying me while calling me paranoid. I was not harsh enough. To those who ask if I regret it, I earn almost double, live in an incredible city, date someone who values me, and I see Logan every day struggling in the building where everyone calls him the poetry club guy. My only regret is not taking the job the first time. And Zara, since I know you read this with fake accounts, Chloe and I are planning a trip to Bali. No exes, no poetry club. She is happy without that. Greetings from Singapore. Comment. Hey everyone, I truly hope this story resonates with you on a deeper level. It's a powerful reminder that your self-respect should never be negotiable just to keep someone around. When you set clear boundaries, you're not being difficult. You're protecting your mental peace and your future happiness. Sometimes, walking away is the kindest thing you can do for yourself, even when it feels incredibly difficult in the moment. Always pay attention to how someone treats your feelings, because actions will speak much louder than any apology ever could. Remember that your value doesn't decrease because someone else is incapable of seeing it. Focus on building a life you're proud of, where your integrity and honesty are your strongest foundations. Healing takes time, but choosing your well-being over a toxic cycle is a victory worth celebrating every day. I hope you find the strength to choose people who bring you clarity instead of constant doubt. Stay true to yourself and keep moving forward with grace. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.